Welcome to Short Stories in the Long Talks. Today, you and I are going on a bit of an exploration into something really vital for any writer, any storyteller, actually.
Writing inspiration, that elusive thing.
That's the one, the mystery of writing inspiration.
Right. So for this deep dive, we've looked at a whole bunch of insights, a lot from a collection called Drawing the Spark, Unraveling the Mystery of Writing Inspiration.
Oh, yeah, that pulls together thoughts from all sorts of authors, doesn't it? Classic, contemporary.
It really does.
Yeah.
And our mission here, basically, is to figure out what this thing is, where do ideas, actually come from?
And the big one, how can you, listening right now, no matter your writing experience, how can you actually cultivate it? How can you tap into it?
That's the goal.
Because, the questions we're looking at are pretty fundamental, aren't they?
Exactly.
Is inspiration just this zap, this gift from nowhere?
Yeah, like a muse just drops it in your lap.
Or is it maybe something more solid, something you can actually work on?
Something you can build.
Yeah. Where do story ideas really begin? And how do you find them when you're just staring at that blank page?
Which happens to everyone.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's kick this off. What is writing inspiration, fundamentally?
Well, at its core, it's that first mental kickstart, that spark.
Spark, yeah.
It could be like a really vivid image just popping into your head.
Or a question you can't stop thinking about.
Exactly. Or maybe you overhear a bit of conversation.
Oh, yeah, happens all the time.
And it just lights something up. Or even just a really strong feeling, an emotion that you feel like, okay, there's a story here.
That push to get it out, to create.
That's that impulse, yeah, that gets the wheels turning.
And it shows up in so many different ways, doesn't it? Like you said, an image, or it could be a whole scene playing out, right?
Absolutely. Or maybe it's more abstract, like a philosophical question you want to wrestle with through a story.
Or just that tiny little bit of dialogue you heard that sticks with you.
Or a feeling, like this deep sense of unease or joy. And, somehow that's the start of something.
Right. But then there's this whole discussion, isn't there, about what it is?
Exactly. Is it this mystical force that just chooses people, unpredictable?
The muse thing again.
Yeah. Or is it more practical, more down to earth, something you can actually practice, like a skill?
A skill you can sharpen, which the authors we looked at seem to suggest, right?
They really do.
Yeah.
And that brings us neatly to the next sort of big question.
Nature versus nurture.
You got it.
Yeah.
Born or bred. Are some people just naturally inspired, or is it something you learn?
What did the sources say on that?
Well, the strong feeling, the consensus really, is that, yeah, sure, maybe some folks have a naturally more active imagination, or maybe they're just more curious by nature.
Okay.
But the actual skill, the ability to consistently find inspiration and then, crucially, use it effectively, that's very much learned.
Ah, okay, so it's like a muscle.
That's a perfect analogy, actually. Think about it. So some people might be naturally predisposed to, say, athleticism.
Right.
But anyone can get stronger or faster with training. You build the muscle.
So you can train your inspiration muscle. I like that. So how do we do that? What are the exercises?
The key, according to these writers, is really about active engagement, both with the world outside you and the world inside you.
Okay, engaging how?
It means doing things like, consciously reading really widely, reading deeply.
Not just skimming.
Definitely not. And really engaging with other art forms, looking at paintings, listening to music, watching films.
Letting other creativity spark your own.
Exactly. And also actively seeking out new experiences, different things, diverse perspectives.
Standing out of your routine.
Yeah. All that stuff creates fertile ground. It makes it more likely that those little sparks will catch fire.
And it sounds like the sources of inspiration are pretty varied too. It's not just one place you look.
Oh, absolutely not. Drawing the Spark points to several key areas that just keep coming up.
Like what?
Okay, first off, personal experiences. Your own life. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the wins, the losses.
The raw material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rich because you have that direct emotional connection. You know how it felt.
Makes sense. You've lived it or felt something like it.
Precisely. Then there's just observing the world, paying attention.
Like really noticing things.
Yeah. People, places, things happening around you, you just make it a habit. That interaction you see on the street, that weird building, a news story.
Any little detail could be a seed.
It could. You sort of become a detective, always looking for clues for the story behind the story.
I find myself doing that sometimes, like in a cafe, just watching people and wondering.
It's so common
Sure.
and really effective. Okay, then there's other art. We touched on this.
Books, music, paintings.
Right. Engaging with other people's creativity can totally ignite your own imagination. It can send you off in directions you wouldn't have thought of.
Like creative cross-pollination.
That's a great way to put it. Like, a piece of music might give you a feeling, and suddenly you have an idea for a story with that same mood, even if the plot is completely different.
Yeah, I get that.
And importantly, don't forget your own imagination and daydreaming.
Just letting your mind wander.
Absolutely. Letting it play with what-if scenarios. Building little worlds in your head, no judgment. That's where really original ideas can bubble up.
Giving the inner storyteller free rein. I'm a big fan of the daydream. Sometimes the weirdest thoughts turn into something useful.
They really can. And finally, there's research and learning.
So digging into facts, history, science.
Exactly. History, science, different cultures. Diving into that stuff can uncover amazing stories, weird details, unique ways of seeing things. It's all just waiting there.
Like being an explorer, finding hidden treasure.
Kind of, yeah. Finding hidden narratives.
Now, you mentioned Jane Austen earlier. How does she fit into this? Does she talk about inspiration?
Well, not really in those exact words, no. But if you look at her letters, you get these amazing clues about her process.
What kind of clues?
You see just how incredibly observant she was. How tuned in she was to, like, the social stuff, the way people behave, the little nuances.
Yeah.
She noticed everything. And she clearly thought deeply about it. That observation, that reflection, it's obviously the bedrock for those incredibly detailed, psychologically real characters and situations in her novels.
So even if she didn't call it inspiration, her method was all about observing and reflecting.
Exactly. It really highlights how crucial just paying attention to the world is. That's a primary source.
So it sounds like inspiration isn't really this limited resource you either have or you don't.
Not at all. It's more like it emerges,
From what?
from being engaged, from being curious,
All right.
from constantly feeding your mind with experiences and observations and ideas.
Right. Which kind of leads us perfectly into how experience and imagination work together, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it really does. They're like partners in crime when it comes to making stories.
Two sides of the same coin. You need the real stuff, but then you need the magic bit to transform it.
Totally inseparable. Experience, whether it's something that happened to you or just something you saw or read about, that often gives you the starting point.
Core of truth.
Yeah, that kernel of authenticity, that emotional honesty that makes readers connect. Hemingway's famous, write what you know.
Right. Which doesn't mean only write about yourself, does it?
No, not literally. It's more about drawing on the emotions you know, the understanding you have from your own life, even if the story's plot is totally made up.
Tapping into that emotional well.
Precisely. And it's important to remember, those experiences don't have to be huge, dramatic things.
Like you don't need to have climbed Everest to write about struggle.
Exactly. It could be a small moment, a memory from childhood, a feeling you can't shake like loneliness or wanting something really badly.
Small feelings can be powerful starting points.
Incredibly potent. Because the writer can dig into that feeling and find the universal stuff in it. Loneliness becomes about isolation, the need for connection, things everyone understands.
So experience gives you the solid ground, the emotional bedrock.
And then comes imagination.
The wings.
Yeah, the wings. Imagination is the alchemist. It takes that raw truth from experience and lets you, run with it. Invent, explore possibilities way beyond just what actually happened.
Ursula K. Le Guin had that great quote about it, didn't she?
She did. The only way you can talk about the state of your soul is by making up a story. Imagination gives you that space, that freedom.
To explore tricky emotions or big ideas indirectly.
Right. Often more powerfully.
Yeah.
Through characters, settings, plot, things that show the deeper truth instead of just telling it.
It lets you step into someone else's shoes too, right? Build whole worlds.
Absolutely. Empathy is huge. Yeah. And world building. Think about it. You might start with a real historical event, but then imagination lets you create fictional people who live through it. Explore their feelings, their journeys within that real setting.
Or the other way around. Start with something totally made up.
Yeah. Like a society living underwater. Pure imagination. But then you ground it by giving the characters relatable human feelings. Ambition, love, grief, wanting to belong.
So it's this constant back and forth.
Exactly. A dynamic dance. Experience provides the anchor, the grounding. Imagination provides the flight, the transformation. That's what makes stories work.
That really clarifies it. So we have this dance happening, fueled by all these different sources. What about the masters? What can we learn from the big-name writers?
Yes. Some really valuable stuff here. Drawing the Spark collects some fantastic perspectives. Stephen King, for instance.
What's his take?
He has this very grounded view. He talks about ideas being like fossils buried underground.
Fossils.
Yeah, like old bones you have to dig up. He thinks stories are sort of out there waiting to be found. And the writer's job is to be receptive and do the work to unearth them.
The work being the writing itself.
Largely, yes. His famous line, amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work.
Right. Don't wait, just do it.
It really emphasizes that practical side. Inspiration often comes while you're writing, not before.
So just starting can actually be the way to find the spark.
It often is. Then you've got Virginia Woolf.
A room of one's own.
Exactly. She argued so eloquently for having the right mental space, physical space for creative thought.
So less about the initial spark maybe, and more about nurturing it.
Yeah, I think so. Her point wasn't directly about finding the idea, but about creating the conditions where an idea, once you have it, can actually grow. Having that quiet, focused environment lets you pay attention to those fragile early thoughts.
A sanctuary for ideas. Makes sense.
It does. And Joan Didion had another really interesting angle. She said, I don't know what I think until I write it down.
Whoa, so the writing is the thinking.
Kind of, yeah. It suggests the act of writing itself is a process of discovery. The ideas, the inspiration, they actually take shape as you write.
Thinking with your fingers on the keyboard, almost.
That's a good way to put it. The physical act helps clarify the thoughts.
Okay, who else?
Toni Morrison. She often drew so much inspiration from history, didn't she? Especially African-American history and culture.
Giving voice to untold stories.
Precisely. She stressed listening to those silenced voices, bringing marginalized stories into the light. For her, inspiration was deeply tied to historical awareness and a commitment to representing those experiences.
Using history as a powerful springboard.
Absolutely vital. Then there's Ray Bradbury, pure imagination.
Yeah, his stuff is wild.
He often said his inspiration came from keeping a sense of childlike wonder. Just staying curious and enthusiastic about everything.
Like staying open.
Totally. And that quote of his, "You must stay drunk on writing so reality cannot destroy you."
I love that. What does that even mean?
Well, I think it captures that passionate immersion, right? Just loving the storytelling, diving in completely, letting imagination take over. Inspiration flows from that joy.
That image of being drunk on writing is pretty great. Total immersion.
It really is. And Neil Gaiman, he talks about ideas coming from everywhere. Absolutely everywhere.
Unexpected places.
Totally. Like a glimpse of something weird, a bit of conversation he overhears, a dream.
Random bits and pieces.
Exactly. He calls himself a collector of oddities. He says you just gather these fragments and eventually they start to connect and form a story.
So just keep your eyes and ears open all the time.
Pretty much. He believes inspiration is constantly around us. We just need to be open to seeing it.
Okay.
Anyone else? Margaret Atwood echoes that broad view. She says she gets ideas from, well, everything. Life, other people, books, news.
The whole works.
Yeah, it just reinforces that idea. It's not limited to one specific thing. It's pervasive.
We just need to tune in.
Right. And Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie makes a really powerful point about seeking out diverse narratives.
Not just sticking to what you know.
Exactly. She urges writers to look beyond the single familiar story. Explore different perspectives, the complexities of experience from many viewpoints.
So reading and listening widely actually fuels your own creativity.
Significantly. It broadens your whole understanding. And finally, Haruki Murakami.
His work often feels like it comes from dreams.
Well, he talks about it kind of like that. He describes inspiration bubbling up from the subconscious.
From deep down.
Yeah. He sees writing as a way of listening to these inner voices, sometimes wordless ones, and letting the story unfold almost on its own.
So connecting with your inner world is key for him.
It seems to be. Paying attention to intuition, dreams, those subconscious nudges, a really vital source.
Wow, okay. So many different takes, but also some common threads like observation and just doing the work.
Definitely.
So we've talked about what it is, where it comes from, heard from the greats. Now, the really practical part. What can people listening do? What are the actionable steps?
Right, let's get concrete. Drawing the Spark lays out a pretty clear process. First step, cultivate a habit of observation. Really practice noticing things.
Like actively train yourself.
Yeah, pay attention to sensory details, sights, sounds, smells. Listen to how people talk. Watch their body language. And crucially, jot it down.
Keep a notebook or use your phone.
whatever works. Capture those little details, interesting phrases, images. It's about training your senses to spot story potential.
Okay, observe. What's next?
Second, engage with the verse experiences. Get out of your rut.
Try new things.
If you can, yeah. Travel, maybe. Try a new hobby. Talk to people who aren't just like you. The richer your life experiences, the deeper your well of inspiration.
Push your boundaries a bit.
Gently, yeah. Explore. Third,
Right.
read widely and deeply. We keep coming back to this.
It's that important.
It really is.
Yeah.
Different genres, different styles, fiction, nonfiction, poetry. See how other writers do it, how they build worlds, craft characters.
Learn from them.
Exactly. It gives you ideas and tools.
Yeah.
Being a good reader is fuel for being a writer.
Got it. Read more. Number 4.
Practice active imagination. Set aside time just to play in your head.
Daydreaming on purpose?
Kind of. Let your mind wander, follow what-if threads without judging them. Try visualizing scenes, putting characters in weird situations, just to see what happens.
Give yourself permission to just mess around mentally.
Exactly. Which leads right into number 5. Embrace the what-if question.
Ask what if about everything.
Well, about things that catch your interest. See a strange person. What if? Find an odd object. What if? Hear a weird news story. What if? It's such a simple question, but it unlocks so many doors.
A tiny key to huge possibilities. I like that.
It really is powerful. Okay, 6. Keep an idea file.
A place to put all those observations and what ifs.
You got it. Physical notebook, digital docs, special app, doesn't matter. Just have a system to capture everything. Scraps of dialogue, images, questions, snippets.
I'll look at it sometime.
Definitely. Review it regularly. You'll be amazed how old ideas might suddenly connect, or a forgotten spark looks interesting again. No idea is too small to jot down initially.
Capture first, judge later. Okay, 7.
7th, and this echoes Stephen King. Don't wait for perfection, just write.
Get words on the page, even if you don't feel inspired.
Yes. Sometimes the act of writing is what generates the inspiration. You start typing, wrestling with a sentence, and suddenly an idea pops up. The momentum builds.
The process itself can spark things.
It absolutely can. 8th, be open to unexpected sources.
Like Neil Gaiman's Collector of Oddities.
Exactly. Inspiration can hit you from anywhere. A song lyric, a headline, a dream, a painting. Keep your antenna up. Be receptive. Don't dismiss things just because they seem random.
Stay alert for those sparks.
Precisely. And number 9 connects back to Adichie. Actively consider diverse narratives.
Make an effort to read and engage with stories different from your own background.
Yes. Deliberately seek out different perspectives, different voices. It stretches your understanding and can open up completely new creative paths for you.
Seek out and amplify other stories.
Absolutely. And finally, number 10, drawing from Murakami. Cultivate connection with your inner world.
Listen to your gut, your subconscious.
Yeah. Pay attention to intuition, dreams, those half-formed thoughts and feelings just below the surface. Make time for quiet reflection. Listen to those inner nudges. They can be incredibly rich sources of unique ideas.
Tune inward as well as outward.
Exactly. So it's really this ongoing cycle, isn't it? Engaging outward, engaging inward, and consistently doing the work of writing.
It's not passive waiting. It's active cultivation.
That's it, exactly. You're not waiting for lightning to strike. You're setting up the lightning rods, you're creating the conditions where sparks are more likely, and then you're ready to catch them and fan the flames.
Okay, so what we've really seen is that writing inspiration, it's not some magic trick for the lucky few.
No, definitely not.
It's more like a skill, something tangible that you listening can actually develop.
Through active engagement, yeah.
Yeah.
With the world, with your own mind.
And that dance between experience and imagination is key.
Absolutely crucial.
Plus, hearing from all those great writers, it gives some real practical guidance, doesn't it?
It really does. Inspiration comes from that constant interplay, observing, reading, imagining, experiencing, and just showing up to do the work.
So here's a final thought for everyone listening to mull over. Now that we've explored all these ways to find and nurture inspiration, what's one single small thing you'll do today? One small action to actively look for a spark or tend to one you already have. Maybe think about what it would mean to really become that collector of oddities Neil Gaiman talked about.
Yeah, just notice the weird stuff.
Or maybe just make it a habit, starting now, to ask, what if? Whenever something catches your eye. How might that one little shift change things? How might it unlock something new for your storytelling?
Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. Until next time.
Until next time.
See ya.